Hi, my name is Leon Wilson, and this is The Curious Case of Elementary 6th Graders. So just some basic backstory on me. I attended Holy Name School, which is a Catholic school, which goes from pre-K to 6th grade. And then afterwards, I went to Osable Valley Middle High School, which is both a middle and a high school, just in one giant building, because we had a tiny district, so everyone just kind of went there together. And then this is my roommate's school. Now, how it kind of came about was me and my roommate were talking about our schools and stuff, and it was kind of brought up that my school had gone all the way up to 6th grade, well, theirs had only gone up to 5th grade, and then the 6th graders went into high school, middle school, sort of. So this is Lake Placid Elementary School, which is a super close by school to us. And then this is Lake Placid Middle High School. And so I was kind of like, so is there any correlation between having 6th grade in elementary school versus having 6th grade in middle school? So I decided to find that out. And what I did was I went online and I looked up our 6th grade state test results, which, as you can see, my school is always going to be either on the left or the top, while their school is going to be on the right or the bottom, just to keep things, straight in. So, as we can see, my district's test scores were slightly higher than theirs. Mine was 93, as we can see. Well, theirs were at 87. And then how it works is, this column is passing, well, this column is like slightly above passing, and then this is proficient. And we're going to be looking at the darker blue, because this is 2011, this is 2012, when we graduated or were in the school. So, basically, we had higher passing, and then we also had higher scores compared to them in slightly above passing, and then they had nobody proficient in English. Well, we had 1% of people who were proficient in English. And then if we look down here, we can see that we had more males who were proficient or passing than they had passing. We had 90, well, they had 75% of students who were male that even passed the English Language Arts state test. And then I looked at the mathematics state tests, and this was another one that was interesting. I'm sorry it's fuzzy. These are all screen captures that I tried to make work. I believe that ours was 86%, while theirs was 98% of students who passed. And then we dropped down to 35% of students who got above a 274, and they had 81%. And then we had 15% that was proficient, level 4 sort of, and then they had 45. So we can see that we were slightly not as good as them, and by slightly I mean a lot. So we had a lot fewer males and a few fewer females who were even passing. Well, they were in the 90s for both, which is pretty awesome, I might say. And in my roommate's words, almost exactly, because it wasn't completely PG, they had a really great math program, while their English program wasn't that great. And then afterwards what I did was, they don't have the report cards out for our 12th grade year, so I went back to 11th grade and looked at the regencies for that. So here we have the English regents. So this is mine, and this is their school. And as we can see, level 1 through level 5 is kind of the same sort of thing as level 1 through 4 in the last one, I believe. So as we can see, we had more people who scored level 1 than they did, because they had 0 and we had 3, but we also had more level 2s as them, and fewer level 3s. But we definitely made up for it, I think, in the level 4 and level 5, as you can see, because they only had 12 level 4s and 28 level 5s, while we had 30 level 4s and 33 level 5s. And then if we go down into the general education area, which we have more level 4s than they did, and we also have more level 5s, but they had a more majority of level 5s than we did, by quite a lot, which is pretty great for them. And then this is the Algebra 2 Common Core. We also had an Algebra 2 N-Trig Regents, but they didn't, so I decided just to look at the Algebra 2 Common Core. And so, as we see again, we did have more level 1s and more level 2s, but we definitely had more level 3s, fewer level 4s, and fewer level 5s. So we were definitely far below them in the all students category, as well as the general education category. So, as mentioned in elementary, early middle school in the 6th grade, they have worse English than we do, and they have better math than we do, which, again, as my roommate said, is chalked up to the school. And then I found another Regents that we both took, which was the U.S. History and Government Regents, where, which was kind of new because there wasn't a state test for U.S. History and Government, but there was for high school Regencies, so we got to look at this. Out of all of the students, 75 students that were tested, 99% of them scored for my school above a 99. 95% scored above or at a 65, and then 51% was above, goodness gracious, 55% was above an 85. And then their school, they had 91% above a 55, 80% above a 65, and 50 above an 85. So kind of what we see is we had more above 55 and above 65, but we kind of evened out around the 85 range, which also happened down here in the general education. But I don't mean to brag, but there is a teacher in our school who likes to brag about the fact that he has 100% students above passing. So as you can see, there's definitely higher scores there in these areas where it's just barely passing-ish. So yeah, he's pretty great in social studies and things, and yeah, so that was pretty cool. So we also kind of evened out here. As you can see, we had a 57%, while they only had 55% in the 85, but that's pretty close together. So in history, I would say that the number of students who like super duper extra passed was pretty even for both schools. Now, what I can get from this is that there might be a correlation between them, you know, because we did test better in math while they tested better in English, but it could have been chalked up to other things like the factors of teacher work ethic or home life, because, you know, different schools have different environments and things like that. But we're a pretty close school district, so I assume that, you know, we're kind of similar in, you know, poverty, low-income student sort of thing. So, I mean, I feel like they're pretty good ways to compare schools, like take two and compare them, like they're pretty great. And then what I did is I interviewed my roommate with just some general questions that I was like, hey, so, and, you know, what was it like in 6th grade for them? And they said it was very rough being in a new school, having like this huge transition to worry about. The school is super big and there's a bunch of new people. I believe not Mariah. They had just incorporated another school into their high school recently, so there was that going on as well as other things. And then in 10th grade, 11th grade, they transferred to ABCS, so they kind of have an idea of both schools a little bit. So I asked them, when you transferred to ABCS, did you see any differences? And they said that they definitely saw an immediate difference because everyone was more welcoming, teachers knew how to handle students better, and yet still treat them as adults and people who kind of knew what they were doing. And then I asked, what do you believe is better and why? Like, is it better to have 6th grade in middle school or elementary school? And they said that they liked it better in middle school because it added an extra year to kind of transition to the different feeling of like going to 8 classes a day and bigger schools and seeing all these students. And then this quote down here is exactly what they said about their math and English department. So enjoy that. And then my final thoughts on it. After reviewing all this stuff, I believe that it's less of a correlation between whether 6th grade is in elementary or middle school. I really think it has more to do with the way that the schools deal with the transition. So, end all be all, I don't think there's really a big difference.